This happened last summer. I was out in a dying town in northern Pennsylvania for work. I do commercial refrigeration repair, and my company sent me to fix some walk-in freezers at an old family-owned supermarket. The town was the kind of place where everything shuts down by 7 p.m. and there are more empty, boarded-up buildings than actual people on the streets. I was staying at this motel on the very edge of town, right up against a thick wall of trees. It was one of those single-floor places where your door opens right onto the parking lot. It smelled like a mix of industrial bleach and stale cigarettes. A place that felt like it was holding onto a lot of secrets. The woman at the front desk was in her 60s. She looked distracted, constantly glancing past me toward the dark parking lot. When she handed me my key, she leaned in close. Her voice dropped to a whisper. She said, "If anyone knocks on your door at night, do not answer it, unless it's me or the owner. And if you hear anything weird outside, call the office. Don't go out there yourself." She said it like she was giving me the weather forecast, but her eyes, they were full of a very real, very deep fear. As I walked to my room with my dinner, I noticed an old dark green pickup truck parked 2 spaces down. The engine was idling, that low, heavy thrumming sound, but the headlights were off. I could see a man sitting behind the wheel. He had both hands gripped at 10 and 2, staring straight ahead into the darkness. Most people look when someone walks by, but he didn't even blink. He was just waiting. Around midnight, just as I was drifting off, I heard it. Footsteps on the gravel, slow, deliberate. Someone walked past my door, stopped for 20 seconds, and then walked back. Then came the knock. 3 sharp, confident hits. Tap, tap, tap. I crept to the door, trying not to let the floorboards groan. I held my breath and looked through the peephole. Nothing. Just the empty lot, the flickering yellow light, and a silence so heavy it felt like it was pressing against the door. A few minutes later, I heard a faint, metallic scraping sound right at the lock, like someone was testing a key or a tension tool. I looked through the peephole again, and this time, I saw movement. Someone was crouched down, right under the door handle, so low that all I could see was the top of a dirty baseball cap and a shoulder. I stood there, paralyzed, barely breathing. After a few seconds, the figure stood up and melted away into the shadows. The next morning, around 5 a.m., my truck alarm went off. I pulled the curtain back just a fraction of an inch. There was a tall man in a dark jacket standing by my driver's side door. He had already opened it. He didn't even look inside for valuables. He just stood there, staring at my motel room window. And then he turned his head and looked exactly where I was standing. He knew I was watching. He didn't run. He just gave a slow, crooked smile, shut the door, and walked calmly into the woods. When the police arrived, the older officer pulled me aside. He told me they'd seen that green pickup before. Over the last 6 months, 3 other men staying alone had reported similar things. He hinted that some people who stayed at that motel simply never checked out. But the part that still keeps me awake? It was right before I left. I was frantically packing my bag when I dropped my phone charger under the bed. I reached down into the dust and felt a piece of paper. I pulled it out. It was a scrap of a local newspaper, written on the back, in the same pen I had left on my nightstand the day before, was my room number, my truck's license plate, and a handwritten schedule of exactly what time I left for work and what time I came back. They hadn't just been outside. They had been inside my room while I was at work. They had been sitting on my bed, using my things, and planning exactly when they were going to come for me. I didn't finish my job. I threw everything into my truck and drove for 3 hours without looking back. Now, every time I stay in a hotel, the first thing I do is look under the bed.